Well, hello everyone. How are you? I'm doing well. Just out here enjoying this beautiful day. I wonder what the temperature is today. I wonder what has the temperature been in this area for the last 10 days. I'm even wondering about my boys and girls. I wonder how they are doing, what they had for breakfast this morning. I wonder how many of them had cereal for breakfast this morning, or pancakes, waffles, or maybe fruit. Let's take it a step further. I wonder how many of them had Captain Crunch for breakfast, or Frosted Flakes, or Honey Nut Cheerios, my favorite. I'm even wondering about the cars out here. Which color do you think is represented the most? What about the least? I think that's what we'll do this week. In week 10, I think we'll talk a little bit about data, ways to organize it, or ways we have to collect it first, ways to collect data, organize it, represent it, and then analyze this data. So, why don't you grab your paper and pencil and follow me? Let's have a little fun with some data this week. So our ICANN statement for today is I can organize, represent, and interpret data in bar graphs and line graphs. So as always, let's unpack a bit. The word organize, what does that mean to you? Organize means to arrange in a structured way or even sort. How about represent? What do you think? Yeah, represent means to basically show. We're going to show something in this case. And then interpret. Interpret means to draw conclusions. So in this lesson, we will be given some data, for the most part, that has already been collected to sort in a structured way in order to show it on a graph, and then basically draw some conclusions based on what is shown after we've graphed. Whew, that's a lot, but I know you can handle it. Okay, so now think back to the welcome video. What were some examples of data you could have collected based on the questions that were asked? What do you think? Take a moment to think about that. Yeah. So one question, or the first question was, what has the temperature been? I wonder what has the temperature been over the last 10 days? Okay. What do you think we would have to do to collect that or even to show it? And then draw some conclusions once we've graphed it. Yeah. Okay. What about another question? I think I asked something about, I wonder what my students were eating for breakfast. So I could have collected that information by creating a survey, by just asking them and then graphing it. I know pancakes, waffles, fruit, okay? And then what kind of cereal? If we wanted to take things a little further, what kind of cereal? Maybe um, Captain Crunch or Fruit Loops or Honey Nut Cheerios, any of those types of cereals. That's a survey or question that we can ask in order to gain some data to graph it. And then what about the cars? What color car was represented the most or the least? Okay, so you'll notice that in this situation, questions were asked in order to get data that we needed to graph, and then later on to be able to interpret. So that's what this lesson is all about. It's all about the question. It's all about ways to collect data or organize it, and then to represent it, and then eventually to interpret this data. Lastly, I used the word analyze in the video. What do you think analyze means? It means to break something down or break it apart to better understand it. And so that's essentially what we're going to do throughout this lesson and throughout this week. both terms, you may hear both terms. You may hear interpret and you may hear or see analyze, but no worries, okay? Don't let it confuse you. Both terms will get us to the end goal of understanding what we see on these graphs in order to answer these questions. So let's get started. Welcome to my weather channel. So the temperature enrichment was collected over a 10-day period and was organized in the chart. Let's take a look at that chart. What do you notice? What do you see here in the chart? Yeah, you see the day and date, not to include weekends. So it runs from Monday to Friday in week 1, and then Monday to Friday again in week 2. What else do you see? Oh, Fahrenheit and Celsius. Today, or for this lesson, we're only going to deal with Fahrenheit. Anything else you notice? Yeah, that the temperature was taken at the same time each day. The temperature was taken at 12 o'clock noon each day. Why do you think that's the case? Why not just random times, maybe at 8 a.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., then again at 5 p.m.? Why do you think the temperature was taken at the same time each day for this chart? Well, if you said to better help us understand trends and patterns, or to help us interpret the data better, you're absolutely correct. In order to help us get the correct information, or to better understand what's happening during this week, we needed to have taken the temperature at the same time each day. Okay? So let's keep going. Find a partner, find a family member in your house to have this discussion with. Okay? And what you're going to do is talk with your partner about these 3 questions. Question number 1, what do you notice about the weather? Do you notice any trends? Question 2, the temperature was recorded at the same time each day. What could be the reason for differences in temperatures? And question 3, what kind of graph would best represent this data? So turn and talk. Take a few minutes, press pause if you need to, and share your answers or share your thoughts with your family member. And then when you're ready, join me so we can talk a bit. Okay, what do you think? Let's share a bit. Number 1, what do you notice about the weather? Do you notice any trends? Let's look at the Fahrenheit. For me, the temperature seemed to have increased by Friday of each week. Okay. I also noticed that it was about 66 degrees for 4 days. Right. See a lot of increasing and then decreasing in temperatures throughout the week. So those were the kinds of things you could have discussed with your partner or your family member. Well, let's get number 2 because we kind of talked about the reason why. We could have just kind of mentioned what could be the reason for the differences in temperature. Who knows? It could have just been just that day. Maybe it was raining that day. Maybe there were some clouds out and the sun wasn't shining as much. So that made the difference of a 66-degree day versus a 70-degree day. But number 3, what kind of graph would best represent this data? You gotta think about the graphs you learned about starting in 1st grade and moving on up to 4th grade. What kind of graph that would best represent this data? Going once, going twice. What do you think? Yeah, if you said a line graph, you're absolutely correct because a line graph shows change over time. Okay, so the line graph is correct because the graph shows how the temperature changed over a long 10-day period. So let's check out a line graph. Here's a blank sample of a line graph. Notice the three major parts that have been identified for you. You have the title, vertical axis, and the horizontal axis. So let's put this all together so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, remember this? Yeah, this is the data that was collected on the temperature across a 10-day period in Richmond. Okay, remember the temperature was taken every day at the same time. That data was then put into a line graph. Okay, and here's our line graph. Take a look. Okay, this line graph has the title once again. It has the vertical axis, which tells the temperature, and the horizontal axis, which tells the day or the date in May in which we recorded the temperature. Okay, so for instance, on Monday the 4th, the temperature was 65 degrees. So here in our line graph, we have identified 65 degrees and so on and so forth. Okay, so now here's your task. Your task is to answer all 5 questions on your paper. However, you are to choose two questions to record your responses on Flipgrid. So once again, you're going to complete all 5 questions. However, you're going to choose 2 to answer and record your responses on Flipgrid. And here's the QR code. Once again, remember you can scan it with a cell phone or a tablet. And if not, you can just enter in the web address to record your responses to at least 2 questions. If you don't really want to talk, you can read your answers from your paper. That's really all I'm saying. So you don't have to memorize anything. Just after you have answered all 5 or your own piece of paper, you can choose to share with us. Read your answers from your paper. So question number 1. What day was the temperature the warmest? Which day was it the coolest? Question 2. What is the difference between the temperature on the first Monday and the temperature on the second Monday? Question 3. Which 2 days have a difference of 4 degrees? Question 4. If we measured the temperature on the 11th day, remember we stopped at the 10th day. So if we were to continue, do you think it would be the same, more, or less than the 10th day, and why? And question 5, how might the graph look differently if the temperature were recorded at 9 p.m.? So you are to answer all 5 questions on your own paper, but choose 2 to share with us. Okay, is that a deal? All right, let's keep moving. So now, what do you think? Which type of graph shows categorical data, such as favorite football team or favorite subject in school, most popular snack, ways to travel, favorite kind of candy? What do you think? I'm not ready to tell you yet, so let's keep exploring. What do you see? What question do you think was asked to collect this data? Yeah, real simple, right? Student's favorite color. The question probably was, what is your favorite color? If you had to give a title to this graph, what would it be? Simple again, right? A favorite color, student's favorite color. But here's the hard question. What would be the best way to represent this data? That goes back to which type of graph shows categorical data that helps to answer some of those questions. Okay? If you said bar graph, you are absolutely correct. Bar graph because it shows categorical data, such as this. So remember, the information that the data that was collected was carefully organized or sorted into a chart, then transferred into onto a bar graph. And here's an example of that graph. Once again, You have a title, you have a vertical axis, you have a horizontal axis. And all the data that was in the chart is now or has now been graphed here. So red, blue, green, black, and pink. And here we just have a small reminder of what a bar graph is supposed to have. And we just kind of use the word tails to help us remember. So the T stands for a title. All graphs should have a title, bar graph, line graph. It doesn't matter which graph, but since we're talking about bar graphs, it needs a title. A, your axis. Remember your vertical axis and your horizontal axis. Intervals. That's a big word. Your intervals, what are we counting by? Okay, the numbers. You need labels. Here are your labels. What are the labels? Okay, what is the name of your vertical axis or your horizontal axis? Then you need spacing, and that's this here. Your bar should never touch in this situation because we're creating a bar graph. Okay, when they touch, that's something else. So in this situation, we need spacing because your bars should never touch. In this example, you see how your bars were spaced. Okay, so that is an example of a bar graph, and this just helps us to remember what each bar graph should have. And so now to end this, you know you have another task, but this one is a little more exciting. So which graph best represents the data in each chart? So I'm going to show you two charts. This is kind of like your homework. And once you complete this, then we'll start tomorrow's lesson by reviewing these two charts or these two graphs. So you're going to be given two charts with data that has already been collected and organized. Okay? And you're going to use the website below, here's the website, to create a graph for each set of data. And so all you need to do is type in this web address on your computer and then follow the directions once you get in to create your graphs. Okay? So which graph best represents the data? And here is the data. Okay, you have a set of data here. This is example 1 or A. Here is the second example. So you're going to go into that website, type in that website, follow the instructions to create the best graph for each set of data. And when you're done creating your graphs, you can print it if you're able to, take a screenshot, take a picture. If navigating through the website is difficult, you can even just create the graphs in your notebooks or on a piece of paper. That's up to you. But I really do want you to get practice playing around on that website, creating your own graphs, playing with the tools, the labels, and those types of things. So give it a try, see what you come up with. So that brings us to the end of today's lesson. We will begin tomorrow by reviewing the graphs for each set of data, continuing with our discussion on collecting, organizing, interpreting data. So join me tomorrow for more. Until then, take care.